Of course, the first chapter, which is found in the book, is about sentence. So it is entitled Sentence. Okay, the starting point for any piece of writing is a sentence, which is composed to express a complete thought. It follows that a sentence, no matter how is structured, must have a unified idea with a clear meaning. Now, let us explain this more. Let us see what does this mean. Okay, we have a definition of a sentence, and we have an idea about a sentence. Now, what's meant by a complete thought? Let us consider this example to make the idea clear. Of course, if you consider this example, we are going to have an idea about a complete thought. The example is, the boat is eating on a tree. It seems funny if we consider this meaningfully, but let us study this sentence. Grammatically, this sentence is correct. Why? Because we have a present continuous tense. So no one denies that this sentence is grammatically correct. But does this sentence have a meaning? Of course, no. Now, definitely, it is a wrong sentence, although it is grammatically correct. The reason behind that is because it has no meaning. Actually, it is composed of unrelated elements, which causes an unified idea. To correct that, we have to derive three different ideas from those unrelated elements, and to have the following three sentences accordingly. So what does this mean? It means that we are not going to have a clear meaning without related elements. If we study this sentence, the boat has no relation with eating. And of course, we cannot expect the boat on a tree. So these elements are unrelated. Since they are unrelated, it means that we are not going to have a complete thought. Now, if we want just to correct this sentence, we are going to have three other sentences of three other ideas. So we are going to have, for example, first one, the boat is sailing to an island. So it is grammatically correct and it has a complete thought. Number two, a man is eating in a restaurant. Okay. Third sentence, birds are tweeting on a tree. So we are having three different ideas, and these ideas are of complete meaning. Now, when we consider each element now, when we consider, for example, the boat, eating, and on a tree, they are putting, or when we are going to have these elements in another construction, in another related elements, we are going to have a complete meaning. And this is our job as writers. We are not behind the grammar only, but we are behind a complete meaning. We are behind a complete meaning. Why? Because when we write, we expect others to read. So we need a complete idea to convey the reader. So the first thing that we have is to consider that the construction or the composition of a sentence must have a complete thought, and the construction must be based off related elements. And this is very important. Related elements, it means that the element is working with other, sharing ideas. If we consider the first example, the boat is sailing to an island. All elements of the sentence are sharing the idea. And the same thing is with the second and third example. Up to this point, is that clear to you? I want just to listen to you now. Up to this point, is there any question?
Excuse me, I didn't understand till now.
Okay, I'm going to repeat what I have. We are still explaining the meaning of complete thoughts. What does this mean? Of course, you studied from the other courses in the previous years the meaning of a sentence. A sentence is a group of words with a complete meaning. We are here as writers, not as grammarians. We are not looking at the structure. When we consider the first sentence, that is, the boat is eating on a tree, if we consider it grammatically, we are going to say this sentence is correct. But we are not behind the grammar. We are behind meaning. Now, if I ask you, do you have a meaning, a complete meaning of the boat is eating on a tree? Of course, no. Why? Because the boat has no relation with eating, and the boat is not to be expected on a tree. So these elements are not related to each other. This is the idea. So you have to consider that meaning is very important. If you want just to write a sentence, you have to think of meaning first. Then you are going to move to grammar. Is that clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Now,
Good morning, doctor.
good morning.
Doctor, can you wait for 5 minutes to make other student to join to the meet?
Well, let me tell you that this lecture is recorded. Now, when the lecture, okay, is put in a definite time, and you have to know that I said this before. So it is expected that students will be available in this time. Although, I mean, when we talk about the time of the lecture, the time is decided by the Department of English. This is one. Second, if others are not having the chance to join from the beginning, this lecture is recorded. Later, when we finish, I'm going to deliver this lecture to you. For those that are not having the chance to join the lecture from the beginning. And of course, there is a printed form of the lecture, which is available now on the class.
Okay, doctor. Thank you very much.
It's okay. Now, any question about this point? So, I mean, when we talk about this, let me say, in short, if we want just to conclude what we have, no sentence without a clear meaning. This is what we want just to emphasize as writers. You have to consider that this course is devoted for developing your writing skill. So you have to think as a writer, not as a grammarian. think of meaning first. What is the meaning in your mind? And then you are going to put it in a sentence. We are not going to have a structure without meaning. So since we are going to have a piece of writing which is called essay, we have to think of the first element of writing, that is a sentence. If we are not able to write a sentence, we are not able to write an essay. So let us consider that when we are going to have any piece of writing, the idea should be clear. The idea should be complete. The idea should be understood by the reader. We write to make others read what we have. Writing is a reflection of what we have in our minds. If things that are not clear, it means that we are not succeeding to make others understand. So this is what we want just to emphasize. We are here to understand the art of writing. How can we be nominated as good writers? Good writers should be understood by all readers. So let us make our ideas clear. How? When we are going to have related elements of what we write. Okay. Now, with this, we are explaining what's meant by a complete thought. As we have, each of the above sentences has a complete thought, since it is composed of meaningfully related elements, and the result is a clear and unified idea that can be easily understood and communicated with others. What does it mean communicated? It means understood by others. Thus, the first job of anyone who starts writing is how to make ideas clear to the readers. Structurally, sentences are divided into three types: simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence. Of course, these types are studied in the previous years. You have an idea about these things. When I ask you about simple sentence, complex sentence, compound sentence, and by the way, in previous years, you have another type that is compound complex sentence. This is a mixture between complex and compound sentence. But here in this book, we have only three types. That is simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence. So we are going to study these three sentences in detail. But here, the emphasis is what? Is how to compose these sentences. It is not only to know. Now, if I ask any one of you, you are going to define what's meant by simple sentence, what's meant by complex sentence, what's meant by compound sentence. But here, let me say, the function of each sentence should be considered. Here, when we are talking about these three types, we are not going to add something about what's meant by them. But here, the main concern is just to what? How to compose sentences according to these types. So this is our concern. This is the importance of these types in this course. So we want just to train. How can we make these types rather than to understand what's meant by them? So it is not just to define them, but the idea is how to compose sentences according to these types. Now, let us consider the first type. That is what? Simple sentence. What's meant by simple sentence? Simple sentence consists of one subject and one predicate. It has only one main or independent clause and no independent or subordinate clauses. And it tends to convey a complete idea. Now, what's meant by this? When we are talking about simple sentences, we are talking about a structure. What do we have inside a sentence? Now, what we have now is a structure. That is what? One subject, one predicate. This is structure. And when we say it has only one or main independent clause, what does this mean? It means that we are not going to have another structure. It's only one subject and one predicate. This is one. Second, this one subject and one predicate has a complete idea by itself. There is no need to another structure to complete the meaning. It is self-sufficient. That is, it has only one meaning, one definite meaning. Okay. Now, consider the following examples. The rain stopped an hour ago. If we consider this sentence, where is the subject? The subject is the rain. Where is the predicate? The predicate is stopped an hour ago. What's meant by this? It means that we have something and we tell about this something. Okay? So the subject is the thing that we are going to talk about. Stopped an hour ago. What's meant by this? This is to tell what about the rain. So this is what's meant by subject and predicate. And all in all, with this sentence, we have a complete meaning. No need to another structure. There is another sentence. Joe always finishes his work early. Okay. Where is the subject here? Joe. Where is the predicate? Always finishes his work early. So this predicate tells about Joe. So in this sentence, we have also one subject and one predicate. And with these things, we are going to have a complete meaning. Sentence number 3. My friend bought a new house last week. Again, we have one subject, that is my friend bought a new house last week is the predicate. And all in all, we have a complete meaning. Number 4. Jane talks very fast. Again, we have subject, that is Jane, and we have predicate, talks very fast. With this sentence also, we have a complete meaning. No need to another structure. Okay. So if anyone asks about these sentences, what is the type of the sentence? We are going to say a simple sentence. Why? Because we have one subject and we have one predicate and we have independent clause with a clear meaning without another structure. Another point just to consider, a simple sentence is also known as a clausal sentence. It may have a modifier besides a subject, a verb, and an object. In other words, a short, simple sentence can be expanded by adding such modifiers. What does this mean? When we consider this, it means that a simple sentence does not always mean a short sentence. And this is very important. A simple sentence does not necessarily mean a short sentence. So a simple sentence can be short and can be long. Now, how can we make a short sentence long? By adding modifiers. And this is very important. Again, what does this mean? Let us consider this example. An author might publish a new story. Okay, the sentence can be expanded. What does it mean, expanded? To be long, to the following. Now, let us see. What do we have? An American famous author might have been publishing his new her story. What did we add? We added modifiers. You see now, an author from the first sentence, okay, has no pre-modifiers, but we added now American, famous, before the head. That is what, author. Now, if we look at this, we make a phrase, a noun phrase. In this sense, we make the subject bigger than what we have in the first sentence. Then, what do we have also? We have the verb phrase. The first sentence we have only might publish. But what do we have also? We have might have been publishing. With this sentence, we have different auxiliaries. That is might, model auxiliary. And then have for perfective, been for progressive. And then we have the main verb publishing. So we expanded, we enlarged the verbal phrase or the verb phrase here. Got the point now? So in this case, we make the sentence bigger than what we have. Now let us look at the object. We have what? His, new, her story. So what did we add? We add, let me say, the possessive pronoun, and then we have an adjective that is her. So if we compare between the first sentence and the second sentence, we have a larger construction. What does this mean? It means that the short sentence that we have is to be expanded to be long. By using what? By using modifiers. So in this sense, we are going to answer this question. Is a simple sentence always short? We are going to say no. A simple sentence can be short and long. How can we make a short sentence long? By adding modifiers for the elements. That is, for the subject, for the verb, and for the object. Up to this point, is that clear to you or not? Any question about this?
No.
So here, what I need you just to think that when you are going to have a simple sentence can be expanded. That is what? By adding modifiers for the subject and modifiers for the verb, modifiers for the object. Now, if I ask you just to what? To make short sentence and to expand it to long sentence, you are going to have it in this way. Now, let us see another point. In writing simple sentences as components of any piece of writing, they should be at first definite, meaning that they should include nouns rather than pronouns. Study the following example. He met him. It is wrong to start writing by using such sentence, as both the subject and object are not definite and unknown to readers, but it will be changed to John met his friend Mark. It will be quite acceptable. What does this mean? Here, when we are thinking of simple sentences as components of a piece of writing. What does it mean? We are not going to write these sentences singly, because here we are writers. We are not grammarians just to have single sentences. We need just to think of what we have after. Here in writing, we have to think of context level rather than the sentential level. What is the difference between the two? With the sentence level, we think of a sentence by itself. We are not going to have something before or something after. We are thinking of what do we have for next sentences. So what does this mean? When we are going to start a sentence, let us make the elements of sentence definite. We are not going to use pronouns at the beginning. So if we consider this example, he met him. Who is he and who is him? We expect that this sentence to be read by others. So others should understand who is he and who is him. But if we consider this sentence, John met his friend Mark. What does this mean? It means that the subject is already understood and the object is already understood. So here, this is our job in writing. We have to make the elements that we are going to write definite from the beginning. We are not going to make something which is not clear. So we have to think of simple sentences as definite from the beginning rather than to be indefinite. Up to this point, is that clear or not? Is there
Yes, clear.
Okay. Let us see others. Is that clear?
Victor, can you repeat the last point?
Okay. Yes. We are going to have the meaning of definite elements in constructing the simple sentence. What does this mean? It means as writers, we have to make the subject and the object definite. That is, we are going to use nouns rather than pronouns. Here, why to make these definite? Because if we start writing these things in a piece of writing, in a composition, in an essay, these will not be understood by readers. Now, if we consider this, in the example that we have, he met him. Others will ask, who is he and who is him? We are not going to have an idea about them. But if we change he by John, and if we change him by his friend Mark, this will be clear and understood by readers if we are going to start this sentence as, let me say, the beginning of writing any piece of writing rather than having pronouns. Clear now or not? Just tell me.
Yes, Doc, it's clear. Thank you.
Now with this, we are going to stop